Well, I am Jennifer Moses. I am the Assistant Director at the Center for Undergraduate Research. I've been here for about 3 years. I was actually a student here at UF. I did undergraduate research at UF. I actually went to several of the Florida undergraduate research conferences, and I also presented at our symposiums here. So a little while ago, I was right where you were. Say a little, it was a pretty good while ago, but that's okay. I was also a transfer student from Santa Fe, so if any of you are transfer students, good transfers. And a first gen. So I come from a little bit different perspectives than some students, but it's never too late. I always like to give you a little bit of a pep talk before we get started, but I have been doing research. I did research for about 7 years before I came to the University of Florida. I worked for a nonprofit that did, like I said, the non-standard DNA-based work, and so molecular biology, biochemistry work. I worked there for about 5 years before transitioning into industry. And then at industry, I worked for a company that did cell and gene therapy drugs. And after that, I came here. So I've been helping undergraduate students since I came. It is something that I really, really enjoy. And so now you get to hear me talk about posters. Anybody have any questions about me before I get started? Great, we're gonna get that out of the way. So we're gonna go through a few different things, right? First, we're gonna talk about headshots, just because a lot of places when you go, they might ask for one. When you submit to our spring symposium, we're gonna ask you for a headshot. We like to put a face next to a name in the book. It's just something that we like to do. So I want to talk about some tips and tricks for that. And if you notice, I put my face on there, just because I can, and it's me. But the top one is a professional headshot done in a laboratory at the time that I actually teach at. I teach part-time at Santa Fe, and I teach in their biotech lab over there. So I had a professional headshot done in the lab, and then I had this lovely lab picture that my husband took while I was actually working, and clearly not working well because I did not have gloves on, any of that stuff. So don't judge me on my poor science. But as you can tell, those look totally different, right? Lighting is different. While the bottom picture is still a good picture, it doesn't show the professionalism that the top one does, okay? Everybody who's got phones nowadays has a good enough phone to take a really good headshot. Portrait mode is your best friend for this. Anytime you can get that, what they call the bokeh, the blurring in the background, it's what takes the professional from the amateur, okay? So keep that in mind. You can use your cell phone. Have someone else take your picture. Nobody wants to see your arm extended in your headshot, or set it up on a spot and set a timer and take it that way. If you've got an Apple Watch, your Apple Watch can also be a timer. It will also take your picture from your watch, so you can actually press the button on your watch. You did not know that. It's a great feature. Sometimes you're going to want to have a neutral background. A lot of people take headshots in front of buildings or brick walls, or great, depending on what you're doing. I like to have, something behind me to make it look like I'm in a natural setting. But it's up to you, and it's up to what you're going for, right? Also, natural light is best. If it's not natural light, it needs to be usually additional lighting. The top picture had additional lighting, front facing. So that's probably the #1 most important thing is lighting, okay? Also leave space around your head and shoulders for cropping. You don't want to crop your head off, right? When you send a picture to me, it's going to be 300 by 300 pixels. And if it's bigger than that, I'm going to crop it. You want me to make sure that it's not your entire face that's in the middle of the picture, right? You want there to be space around it. Again, lighting is key, not direct sunlight, because you don't want to be squinting when you're in the photo. You want to be just natural. So if you can get in the shade somewhere, or where there's diffuse lighting coming through, that's going to be your best option. A lot of people take pictures in the Plaza of the Americas. Over there, great lighting. All the trees are there, they're diffusing it, it's awesome. So, golden hour, hour after sunset, hour after sunrise, hour before sunset, perfect time to take photos. Okay, all right, what's next? Now we're gonna get into the real stuff, the poster. Okay, so the goal of the research poster, the #1 goal, have everything on there that you need. You need to be able to answer the question, what is your research, on your poster? It is a visual display of your findings. And I say that way because it's not just words, and it should be very minimal words. It should be a visual display. It should want to draw your reader in. The people that are walking by are going to want to come look at it. It should be diagrams, it should be graphs, it should be some type of visual representation of your work. It should be organized, it should be concise, self-explanatory, and visually appealing. I should be able to walk over your poster, read your poster, figure out what you've done without you having to tell me. Does that make sense? Okay. So I like to put examples up here. And I do have examples on our website too. By the way, if you go to our website and you go to Undergraduate Research Symposium, you'll see presentation tips. A lot of this information is on there so you can access it anytime, okay? Your poster should always have your title, the authors and institutions. So the author could be you and your mentor or other students that you've worked with, depending on who it is, but it should be everybody who had something to do with the poster or the project or the paper, right? A background or an introduction, don't have to have both. Methodology, so what methods did you use? I like to do my methods in some form of infographic style. Maybe a flow chart, maybe something graphical. Results, if you have them. So you can present a poster without results. That's possible. We take them. Sometimes your project isn't quite up far enough along where you have results ready. You can present on everything else and just say what you think you are going to get or what you hope to get. Okay? And then conclusion. If you've got results, you need to say the conclusion. And then if you have any future work that you're going to do. So what do you hope to do next? Even if it's not something that you're planning on working on, where is the project going to go next? Even if it's not yours. All right? Some other optional elements you'll see here, an abstract. Some people put the abstract. Usually if you submit to a symposium, it's going to go in a book. It's not necessary that it goes on your poster, right? Your references, you only put the references that are on your poster. So if you didn't cite anything on your poster, or you didn't paraphrase anything on your poster, then the references don't have to be there. Because in your paper, you probably got 20 references. But if you don't actually take that information and put it on your poster, you do not have to reference it. Okay? And then any acknowledgments. So if there's any funding, if you were on a grant, if you're working on a grant, you will list that funding. You'll list that on there. If anybody helped you or helped editing, if your mentor didn't want to be author but did help you with your poster, make those acknowledgments. They always appreciate a thanks. That's basically what that is. Thank you. Right? If you're part of a lab that maybe pays you, if you're a paid researcher, I put the lab name or the funding. So does that make sense? Any questions on this so far? Perfect. We're going to go into just a little bit more detail on each area. So you'll see the authors, the institution, the abstract. Presenter should be the first name. Whoever's the first presenter, whoever's standing by the poster should be the first name on the poster. Okay? Even if you're not the first author on the paper, if you're the first presenter, you're the presenter. You want to go first on the poster. Then you're going to include the additional authors in order of contribution to the poster. Okay? The last name should be your faculty mentor. They should always go on your poster. You should never leave them off. And then include the department and the institution below the author's names. That's why I put the example there. It's pretty good. Okay? There were two different departments there, so they put 1 and 2, and you were able to differentiate. All right? If you do put an abstract on your poster, it should be the exact same one you submitted. You don't want those not to match. Usually when you submit for a poster session, they ask you for an abstract up front. That's how you get selected. It's either an abstract or a proposal. So if any of that information is in that you submitted, you want to make sure that it's identical to what you're actually presenting. Okay? Let's talk about introduction. I'm trying to put pictures on here. Some of them don't really make sense, but when you think of an introduction, you're like telling people about yourself, right? You're introducing yourself. Your introduction is introducing your project. Makes you like your poster and your project saying, hi, my name is this, and this is what I'm doing. All right? So only present what is necessary for the reader, right? If it's not necessary for this person walking up to your poster to know this information, or you know, then you don't put it on there. You're only going to put necessary information. I'm going to tell you right now, if you were to put paragraphs everywhere on your poster, I'm not reading it. Are you going to go up to somebody's poster with a bunch of words on it and read it? Probably not. You're going to go look at the pictures like everybody else. That's why we don't want to put a lot of words on there. Right? Start with a general introduction to the topic. Explain why it's necessary. Why is this research important? You're going to state your question, you're going to explain your approach to solving the problem, and you're not going to go into details about the methods. Like I said, when I do my methods, I try to just make it some type of visual representation of the methods. I might do 1 or 2 sentences, but that's it. All right? Some people do like mass spec analysis of things. They might just put a circular analysis or steps to do that. I'm completely acceptable for that. Results. Your results should be in some type of graphical analysis form. Some people have results that they display in table form. That's completely fine too, depending on your research. It should be your actual results, the actual analysis. Don't put your raw data on your poster. Okay? You don't want to have the people to sit there and analyze your raw data while they're standing there next to you. It should be the results that you've gotten. Okay? You can also briefly describe how it was collected. You can include key sample characteristics like sample size, concentrations. You can include those. They could even be in some type of box with arrows if you want. Smart art is your friend in that type of scenario. PowerPoint has great smart art. You do arrows and circles and squares and all kinds of stuff on there. Explain, explain any internally developed procedures. So if you're not using any standard protocols and you guys developed a specific method to be able to do this project, you're going to briefly explain what that looks like. All right. And everything else I already said, so now we can go on. Sorry about that. All right, and then your figures. So this is what we talked about, your results, your figures. They should support everything you've already done. All right. The rules for posters in any type of presentation is anything greater than 2025. If you're ever given a presentation, whether that's a PowerPoint or on a poster, you're not going to go smaller than 20. Figures can include graphs, tables, photographs, illustrations, or diagrams. All figures should have a title and a legend. If you took it from another site, you're going to image credit them if it's an image, or you're going to cite them, and then that goes in your references. Okay. And all figures should be high quality, which means the resolution needs to be pretty high. Because by the time you print it out 3 foot by 4 foot, and you've stretched it out, you don't want a fuzzy image on your poster. Okay. And there are ways that you can look at size. If you just Google how to change size of things or how to view size of things, it will show you how to do that. Okay. Graphics. Use graphics that enhance or complement your work. Photos of subject, equipment, field site. This is a graphic I use for when I'm teaching somebody how to what's contained in a lab notebook. I want it to be slightly interesting, but also have very specific information in it, right? Want it to make sense. I want it to be self-explanatory. We already talked about that. Only use high quality images. It's still pretty clear even at this large size, right? Use images from a public domain or acknowledged sources. I didn't do that on this page. It's the only page I did not cite my photo. Nobody has noticed yet. Okay. Do not use cutesy clip art or low-res pictures. Nobody wants an emoji on their, unless you're studying emojis. Then you can have all the emojis you want. But if in a professional setting, you're going to leave them off. And avoid using background graphics that compete with text. I had a student that had a poster last semester, and it was this great word cloud, but it completely took away from everything else that was on the poster. Because I was sitting there trying to read the word cloud rather than actually look at what the student did. So keep that in mind. Your graphics should be very muted, very toned down. You could make your whole background an image of anything you want, but it just can't take away from what you're trying to say on your poster. Now we're talking about conclusions. On your poster, bullets are your friend. If you can state your conclusion with bullets, you're great. One, your poster is valuable real estate, right? Every little thing is going to take up room on your poster. You want to make sure that you are clear, concise, and you are stating things matter-of-factly. Bullets are the way to do that, right? Be brief to the point, explain your most significant findings, and mention any alternative explanations for your data or unexpected results, right? Just because you're concluding something doesn't mean that might be that's the only conclusion out there. There could be other reasons why your data came out that way, or why you found that thing. You need to state those. Okay. And next. And then future work. Always want to say where your project's going to go. What's next? What's next for the project? Like I said, do you have any unanswered questions? Maybe you found more questions from your data. If any of you ever done a project where all of a sudden now you have more questions than answers? Every project I do gives me more questions. Every failed project I do gives me more questions, right? So you're going to want to state those. And then references, we already talked about this. Cite all your references that are on the poster. Use a reference style consistent with the major journal in your discipline. For me, education, I have to use APA 7 for everything. That's for me. Some social sciences and stuff use different formats. Some history, I think they like Chicago. So it just depends on your field. Your poster should have the references cited that specific to your field. Acknowledge those who assisted or contributed to your research, include any source that funded. Include grant number if possible, and you'll see here, works funded by NSF grant. Okay. And if you've done any research with the Center for Undergraduate Research or through a program sponsored by the Center for Undergraduate Research, any of our scholarship programs, we love that you put our her logo on there. And those are all available on our website. Now, when you're designing your poster, I made some posters that I liked. They're all a little bit different and they're good for different reasons. Okay? My boss would completely disagree on every poster that I like. She likes all the opposite ones. She likes the traditional science poster, and I like pretty ones. It's not gonna be pretty. So as you can see on this poster, very little words. The only thing bad about this poster is I don't know that I'd be able to figure it out just by looking at it, but it's designed well, it's very clean, it's very neat, right? Prepare text for each section. You should have 1 or 2 sentences for each section. Don't want to go overboard. Just need to be mindful of how much text you're putting on there. You're also going to select graphics, graph tables of key results, photos, relevance to your research. The maps and stuff on this are very relevant to your research. It tells you exactly where they were doing it. Then, 3 or 4 panel design is typical, but it's not required. This is considered a 3 panel. You know, so 1, and then 2, and then 3. Some people do 4, depends. Most people do this landscape format though, rather than portrait. Okay, what's next? So you have a couple options to design your poster. There isn't just PowerPoint, but we're going to go over a couple. I love this poster because it reminds me of an infographic. I think it's so simple and so clear and so easy. And yeah, there's quite a bit of words on here, but they're arranged in such a way that it's easy to comprehend. For me, I enjoy this. This is visually appealing to me. I'm gonna walk up, I'm gonna look at this poster. Okay, and that's really what you need to think about. If I was walking by this poster, would I stop and I look at it? Is it interesting enough to draw me in? Because random people that you don't know are gonna walk by your poster. And you can either stand there and not talk to anybody, or you can design your poster in a way that's gonna act. People are gonna wanna come and look at it. All right. So you'll see these are kind of, you can go back one, but you see these are just kind of instructions. We'll be posting this so you guys will have this. And like I said, most of this information is on our website, but it tells you kind of what size and width and things. When you're doing an online poster, you're gonna wanna do like a PNG or JPEG when you're doing a virtual, but when you're printing it, you're gonna wanna do a PDF. PDFs print better. Like I said, landscape. When you are making your poster, zoom in and out of it. So in that PowerPoint window, there's like a plus and a minus down in the bottom column where you can zoom in. You can actually zoom into your graphic to see what it's going to look like at that size. If you zoom in, you say 100%. So you'll know if it's blurry at that point. Okay. Also, you're going to want to zoom in and out just to make sure that everything's lined up right. Now they have left align and all that. Use those. Those are your friend. So if you're trying to make this align right here, left align it. Okay. If that's out of line, that's going to irk me as a person. Just because my eye is going to immediately go to the fact that they're not lined up. Okay. Use text boxes for titles and text. Copy and paste from Microsoft Word right into Microsoft PowerPoint, which is nice. So if you go ahead and type up all your stuff in Microsoft Word, you can just copy it right over. And then you insert your figures and graphs and create tables directly in PowerPoint, or you can import them in. All right. We also have these templates on our website. And this actually URL is not active. It's actually called presentation tips at the end now. This is no longer virtual presentation. But these are available to download. This is a PowerPoint template. And then they're also, both of these templates are available in PowerPoint and Canva on our website. Canva is a new, kind of new-ish app. It's also online, so you can use it from your browser. The good thing about it is it's not a PowerPoint file, right? It's stored in the cloud. You can go and edit it from anywhere. You can edit it from your phone. You can edit it from any computer that you go to. It's just online. So that's helpful. It also has nice ways to do graphs. So if you have data, you can actually put it right into Canva and it'll graph it for you. It's not as robust as PowerPoint. It does have its limitations, but it is easy to work with. And if you're looking for pretty stuff, it's simple. So you kind of got a trade-off, right? So here's two more examples that we had from FERC 2021. This was an online conference that we had. You can see still kind of a little bit of words, but nice visual representations. It looks really nice. It's very neatly organized. This poster design over here, this was actually developed by a gentleman at the University of Michigan, the one on the right. It's called the Better poster template. What he found is that if you can just include one sentence that will draw people in for your project, the one main, like your conclusion, my data found blah, 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 or the rise in wellness consumerism has led to a rise in online health and misinformation. They actually found that actually draws people in right away. I think it's a great design. Some people don't like it. Traditionalists are like, this is dumb, but it is very much eye-catching. It still has the same information as you can see here on both sides. It's still the typical poster stuff, but it brings people up to your poster and then you explain it from here. All right. They also like QR code. QR codes are like my favorite thing on the planet. They actually put a QR code that goes to their paper. Sometimes students will also put a link to their research gate. Any student can create a research gate. You can download your papers on there. You can download your poster on there. Just something nice to have. But if you wanted, maybe you're recruiting people. Maybe you're looking for a job. Put your LinkedIn on there if you want to. I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to stop you. Okay? Does that make sense? So it's a nice, it doesn't mean you can't include a QR code on here. That doesn't mean that. But they're actually the ones that kind of started it. We have a video describing this poster template on our website as well. Let's talk about the actual presentation, right? I just told you how to create your poster and all the tips and tricks and all that. What do you do when you're actually standing by your poster? Wow. There's not a lot of words on this one, but you gotta tell the readers or the people that are coming to you why your work matters. Why do they care, right? You gotta tell them why it matters to them, why they should even be talking to you. Prepare a 2 to 3 minute verbal explanation. This is your elevator pitch. This is your 2 to 3 minute, I'm gonna tell you, you're gonna answer the question to tell me about your project. 2 to 3 minutes, tell me about your project, okay? Because that's what people are gonna come up to you and say. When you're standing by your poster, they're gonna say, okay, so tell me about your project. Most people aren't going to know what you've done. They're not even going to know what non-standard dealing bases are. And you're going to have to explain it in 2 to 3 minutes. Okay. Be personable, engaging, professional, smile, which means if you smile, people are more likely to come talk to you. If you're standing there grumpy faced, they're going to avoid you. It just depends on if you want to talk to people or not. There were many conferences I've been to that I really didn't want to talk to anybody. However, in this state and when I was an undergraduate, I definitely wanted the connections and I wanted to be able to share my research because it was important to me. So be approachable. Don't spend too much time with one person, which is why it's important to have that 2 to 3 minutes pitch ready, because you know you got to start and stop time. Admit when you don't know it. It's like, oh, I don't have answers to that yet, but we're working on it. Right? That's going to be in our next study, or it's not something that we've researched as a part of our group. There are all kinds of little one-liners you can use. Just definitely don't fake it. Especially if faculty, like, they may come up and try to test you. I would think they would, but just in case, be prepared. Right? Don't fake it. There was another thing I was going to say, and now I don't remember. Oh, with your 2 to 3 minutes. We have Zoom now. Everybody's got Zoom. Whenever I have to give a talk or a presentation, I'll open up a Zoom window and practice ahead of time, record myself, and go back and watch it. Make sure that I got everything. Make sure that I covered everything. Make sure I'm not saying anything that sounds crazy. Just gives me a way to check myself. Right? So you can just record it and play it back. Great. There's also a presentation example. This was an online video that this gentleman made. He was one of our undergraduate research symposium. You probably find it on YouTube, but his name's Kevin Lee. He did a great job making this video. It was so concise. Very good. It's also on our website. All right. That is all I have. Questions? I just like rapid fire so much information at you. Any questions? Yes.
There's examples of like posters on the website, correct?
Yes, there are examples of posters on the website. So if you go to the CUR website, if you go to events and then undergraduate research symposium, there's a thing that says presentation tips. Everything is on there. Pretty much everything I said today is on that website. What else? The templates are on there, our logos are on there. Working really hard on that website. Webmaster too, so we're many hats. Technology is my thing. Any other questions?
We do have one question from Zoom.
Oh, yes.
Somebody's asking, to present a poster in an online environment, do you recommend breaking it down into slides as well?
It depends on where you're presenting if they will allow it. So like for our symposium, we don't allow slides. We only allow the poster. Sometimes students, when they had a Zoom link that they provided, they would put slides up on their own personal Zoom link, you know, in their own shared screen in their Zoom, and they could do slides that way. But when you're in an online format, and depending on how it's set up, and if it's just a room full of people, you're probably not going to have time. I guess that would be if you're doing an oral presentation, right? That would be more of an oral presentation thing that you would do versus just standing by a poster. Does that answer the question?
To me, it does. Yes, it does.
Perfect. Thank you. Yes,
In the verbal presentation, how much should you break down the results? Like how specific, I guess? Or should it be self-explanatory in your poster?
okay, so she asked, I have to repeat your question, it's my job. How much should you break down your results on in your verbal part of your presentation? So in your little elevator pitch, it should be pretty concise and equivalent to your conclusion. So I wouldn't go into the details of the actual results unless it's relevant to the outcome of the study, the outcome of the research. So a lot of times that might be in percentages, right? 97% of the people said this, or so I wouldn't go into the details and say, out of 257 responses, and we had 2,000 surveys sent out, and I wouldn't get into that detail. I would just give whatever's relevant to your actual conclusion. This is a question. What else we got?
I have a question.
Yes.
Is there a place on campus where we can print posters?
Oh, that's a good question. She asked if there's a place on campus that we can print posters. Yes, there is. I don't know exactly which libraries do it, but some of them do it, and I think it's around $9 to print. I think there's 4 places on campus, but if you Google large scale poster printing on campus, you'll find it. If you print it at Target copy, it's around $18. You get a little bit of a higher quality though.
There are printing labs on campus. Like I think you can find that information online.
Yeah.
They're able to print like 3 posters.
Yeah, there are, definitely. Just Google it, you definitely find it. Yes, great question. Yeah. Can you put it in whatever format you can? I mean, I'm not sure what your results would look.
You have a question.
Oh, he asked if your results can't be displayed in a graphical format, how do you do it? And I guess it just depends on what the output is. I would just say use your discretion. If it can't be displayed in some type of graphical, use it in the best possible way to showcase what your results are. Say you were doing, I just talked to a researcher that actually did research by storytelling. And so he would actually collect stories of individuals from around the area and develop themes. And so maybe his result is the themes that he developed from that. That wouldn't be a graphical representation unless he took those themes and maybe applied them in a map format, right? So I guess it just depends on what you're doing and how you want to display that information. I would just say just use your discretion and display it in a way you think would be appealing to others. Anything else? That was the most interesting research that I've heard in a really, really long time. It was public health research too, which was very, very interesting. So they, instead of just surveying individuals in a certain area, they were actually going and asking them basically for their narrative on certain topics. We're recording their story, pulling out themes, and getting the community's perspective on areas based off of their stories. Didn't know that existed. Learn something new every day. Anything else? Great. Thank you guys for coming. Again, we're at the Center for Undergraduate Research. We do have peer advisors that are there from 9:35 to 3:55, Monday through Thursday. They are right outside the CURBS office, which is in Newell Hall on the 2nd floor. If you want somebody to check out your poster, they would, I'm sure they would be happy to do it. If you just want a second look at it, they'll tell you they think. They are also, I think, available by Zoom appointment, but I'm not sure where that's located, but you can see the schedule online also on our website under students and peer advising. They also help with emails, resumes, if you need to email people, any of that, they're there for you. But we're also 2nd floor Newell Hall, got questions. I'm there. All right, any other questions? Oh, tomorrow.
I guess it's not really related to the posters, but because I'm doing my honors project currently, and I'm doing a thesis on that, and I was wondering if I could present information from that as a poster.
Okay, so you asked if you could present your honors thesis as a poster. Yes. Yes, you can also submit your honors thesis to the Journal for Undergraduate Research. You just have to put it in their format, which means it can't be 15,000 words, it's gotta be 4. But you are allowed to submit for that. You can also use your honors for a lot of our scholarship projects too. So you're a junior right now, which means you'll be a senior next year, which means you can apply to the University Scholars Program January, February, and use your honors thesis for that project.
Oh, I could use the same thesis.
Say that one more time.
Will this presentation be posted on the website?
Yes, it will be. There's probably an old version on there too already, but yes, it will be. But also the presentation tips page on the website is available and it has all this information on there.
I was planning on applying to the University of Scholars. You know the exact date or like timeline? Was it
It's
February?
different for every college. So every college has their own deadline. They are generally January, February, because the selections are chosen March 1st. They're sent to me March 1st, and then I get to email everyone. I get to tell everybody the good news. Or the bad news, depending on. But a 50% acceptance rate in most colleges. Still really, really good. The smaller colleges have more. Some of the smaller colleges accept everyone. If you can apply to a university or emerging scholars, do it. It's free money.
Or those last times?
It's free money.
No, the last two you said.
Oh, emerging scholars is for first-time researchers, so not the you, but the summer undergraduate international research program is 8 to 10 weeks over the summer, and it's a $5,000 stipend to go abroad to do research wherever you can.
Could you repeat what that was called?
The summer undergraduate international research program. You go to our websites and you go to students and you go to scholarships, you'll find all of this. Yeah. That's a fun program. We've had people that are from France and China and a lot in South America, Switzerland, had a lot of different areas. Last year, we went to Spain, I think. Spain, yeah. It's cool. We check in with you once a week while you're over there, and you get to tell us all kinds of fun stuff. And you're not just going over there for research, you're going over there to learn the culture. So we encourage that. You keep an e-portfolio while you're there, so you get to post all your pictures. Really, and then you come back and you present it at the fall symposium. Okay, 3 other things. Fall symposium is coming up November 3rd. If you've got data or if you've got a project that you're working on, maybe you don't have data, present anyways, get a presentation on your resume. Okay. We have another one in the spring, in April 7th. It'll be at the O'Connell Center. We're expecting about 500 students. Really, really excited about that. It's gonna be a really fun day. The Florida Undergraduate Research Conference is in February. It's, I think, the 19th and 20th, Friday and Saturday. We pay for your travel. The only thing you have to pay for is registration. It's going to be at UCF, so you pay for a bus ride down there and back, and food while you're there, and a hotel room. Some you're interested in, also another presentation opportunity. The Florida Undergraduate Research Journal that's here on campus, those are due April 1st. Gives you a chance to actually get a publication, and it is a peer-reviewed journal, and you get a DOI with your paper, so it is considered a real publication. Okay. There's also the Florida Undergraduate Research Journal that just started this past year. If you're interested, it's a little back. It's just started, so I don't know that it's really well known or probably as prestigious, but publications are publications. Anything else? Great. You guys have a great night, a great weekend. If you got any questions, let us know. If you could fill out our feedback on the presentation, like I said, we're always collecting information to see if we need to continue to do